Hi guys, Louis Dangoor here from GiveMeSport, and I'm joined by a very special guest, someone that has a very big match coming up. He's currently a one-time NXT champion. Will he be a two-time NXT champion by the time some of you guys are watching this? So I'm joined by Johnny Gargano. Johnny, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm really good. The weather currently for the middle of July is awful.
Oh, no.
But we're starting to open things up again. Wrestling shows for you guys over in the States are coming back. It looks like normality is starting to sort of resume.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so exciting, especially like for NXT to have a crowd again now. They have actual people there to chant and cheer. Makes everything hurt a lot less, which is fantastic.
Well, I was going to say, I'm going to talk a little bit about that because yours like heel run, I guess, has come majority without fans. So we'll get on to talking about that. But for now, I want to speak a little bit about Karrion Kross. You've obviously got a big match with him coming up on Wednesday for the NXT Championship. Speak to us a little bit about the threat that Karrion Kross poses to you, potentially the differences between him and some of the other people you faced during your long tenure with NXT.
Yeah, I don't think I faced anyone like Karrion Kross. I don't think NXT has seen anyone like Karrion Kross. He seems to be unbeatable. He's unstoppable. He's a monster. He is the big bad at the end of the video game, but who better to take on that big bad than Johnny Wrestling himself? I hearken back to Shawn Michaels going up against Psycho Sid or against Vader or against Diesel. There's always these David versus Goliath stories to be told. And you see me versus Karrion Kross, especially given the added element of Samoa Joe as a guest referee. I think anything can happen. I think it is going to be absolutely must see. And obviously, like at the end of the day, I hope that I beat the big bad and become two-time NXT champion.
I'm sure we all do as well. But you mentioned there the added wrinkle of Samoa Joe. I mean, we all lost our minds when he came back and his music hit in NXT. Speak just a little bit about what it's like having Samoa Joe back, someone that's done the NXT route, then has gone up to the main roster, done what he's done, and has now come back in NXT. Speak to us a little bit about having him involved. And I guess when you found out, like all of us, that he would be coming back to NXT and more so involved with what you're doing with Karrion Kross.
I think the first time I found out was I actually saw Joe at backstage, I think the week before he came back. And I was like, oh, what are you doing here? And then we kind of started talking a bit. But it's so great to have Samoa Joe back. Obviously, Samoa Joe is an absolute legend. Everything he's done, like it's crazy to say, but I was a fan of Samoa Joe in high school. Like, so I like a lot of us, like some of the stuff he's done in his career absolutely cannot be topped. And the mind that Samoa Joe has for what we do cannot be matched. So to have him backstage and to have him on screen as well, to kind of give that different vibe to the show, I think he gives such a breath of fresh air to all of his segments. And I think whenever Joe's on screen, it's absolutely must see. So to have him in NXT again is absolutely awesome.
And I wouldn't tell him, by the way, that you were a fan of his in high school because he might choke you out for making him feel old.
I didn't provoke him though. It's not provoked.
I mean, you did kind of.
It's a compliment. It's a compliment. It's not provoked.
I remember back to the 2019 Royal Rumble. You guys had a little bit there. That funny moment that always gets shared around with you coming off the top rope and him just walking. Surely a match with Joe interests you. I mean, it can't not. I know he's not wrestling right now, but has spoken in interviews about wanting to get cleared. Is that something that really interests you, getting in the ring with Samoa Joe? And I guess on top of that, as a fan of wrestling, who are some people that you'd like to see him go up against?
Man, so obviously you brought it up. My Joe. I don't want to face Joe because he's my best friend, and I think we're good buddies. So I'm good to not wrestle him right now. But who would I like to see Samoa Joe take on? In a maybe a not staring contest, I think Samoa Joe versus Pete Dunne would be absolutely amazing. I think Samoa Joe versus Adam Cole, obviously, that's a gimme. Samoa Joe versus Kyle O'Reilly, that's another gimme. And then Samoa Joe versus Tommaso Ciampa. They had a crazy, like, I think 5-minute match, again, during the same time period where I was facing Samoa Joe. Tommaso and Samoa Joe had this crazy 5-minute match. And I'm excited to see what they could do more of with more time in the future.
I mean, listen, those options all sounded like they'd hurt to watch and hurt to be part of. So
I don't want to be a part of them. I'm good.
Hopefully, you're quite happy just sitting on the sidelines watching.
I'll be cheering Joe on. Go get him, Joe.
Fantastic. You spoke a little bit about Tommaso there, and I want to speak about you winning the NXT Championship. Obviously, he had just gone into neck surgery, so it was kind of shifted into the Adam Cole, I guess, story. Is that not a regret of yours, but do you wish, and it seems like, I don't know what it is, you guys must have done something wrong, because no one ever wants you to have the blow off. It's either he gets hurt or you get hurt or COVID or something happens. What is it about you two that just the gods do not want you to finish your story properly?
I don't know, man. Like, I think they took that, they got to fight for everything, literally. Because like you said, we haven't been able to finish our story in front of a crowd, in front of a jam-packed, crazy takeover audience. Like, we just haven't been able to do it. And some would say that injuries and stuff have actually helped our story, because obviously when Tommaso turned on me, he went away for a little bit, which made the story go out even longer, which made the first match take forever to actually happen. So that actually benefited us. But lately, that did not benefit us. Obviously, TakeOver New York did not benefit us. And then TakeOver, what was supposed to be Tampa, did not benefit us. But I think, I don't know, like one day, I don't know when, I don't know where, I don't know how, but I think the Johnny Gargano Tommaso Ciampa story will end. Like, I'm not saying it's over now, but it's on hold, I guess, for however long.
Is that a desire you've got to give it that proper ending in front of the TakeOver crowd, given how the TakeOver crowd was so influential in what you guys were doing in terms of loving you and being so against him? I mean, when I think to him just walking out and the crowd just booing him, no entrance fees, like that for me is just iconic heel work. And when I think of great heels, I think of him during that period. So is there a desire from your end, really, and I guess his end as well, to finish this properly in front of fans?
Definitely. And you said it yourself. Like, I think the story holds such a special place in a lot of people's hearts. And it touched hit such a chord for a lot of people. Like you mentioned New Orleans, like I've never seen a crowd atmosphere like that, where he was so universally hated and I was so universally loved. Like, that's why we were super excited for TakeOver in Tampa. I think it was going to be, like, I think the story we were going to be able to tell up to that point would have been pretty wild. Obviously that didn't happen. But I think obviously on both of our minds, we would love to finish the story the right way.
And I guess, and this is nothing against you two, but if you asked me 18 months ago, when I first thought of Johnny Gargano, the next word on my tongue would have been Tommaso Ciampa and vice versa.
Yeah.
Have you enjoyed the last year or so, not, I guess, being on the same show as him, but not being involved with him in terms of segments and matches? Have you enjoyed, I guess, being Johnny Gargano without Tommaso Ciampa?
Yeah, I think it was more of a challenge upon myself too. But like, it just came from, because like you think about me, you think about Tommaso Ciampa. I guess you would also think about Adam Cole too, because we were in that trilogy as well. So I've also been able to tell stories outside of Tommaso. But I think, like, for me, the big goal, obviously, when the Tommaso turn happened, that I was going to kind of be able to show a different side of myself. So in that regard, I'm pumped that I was able to kind of show the world a different side of myself. Being this new incarnation of me, being this new way incarnation of me. So I think that's just what I'm most excited for, is just I've been able to kind of just take what you knew about Johnny Gargano, the underdog, lovable babyface, and kind of turn it upside down and give you something completely new and something completely fresh.
And I guess as someone that was quite, again, I'm going to make you feel old here, you were a favorite of mine when I was in high school. And I wasn't familiar with a lot of your work beforehand, given I was sort of in the WWE bubble, I guess.
Yeah.
So I was like, right, this guy can't turn heel. There's no way. He's just too good of a babyface. Obviously, now knowing the majority of your work before WWE was as a heel. So did you enjoy showing that to people? I guess you must have seen loads of people on Twitter being like, the best babyface, the biggest babyface.
Yeah.
Were you looking forward to, I guess, showing what you could do as a heel and then being like, no, I'm not like a one-trick pony. I can do both.
Yes, definitely. I took that like as a challenge for myself, because I have a big chip on my shoulder. I'm an underdog from Cleveland, Ohio, and I have a big chip on my shoulder, for especially people that say like I can only do one thing. Like because I know, like, no, I could do more than just being the lovable underdog babyface. Because that was my favorite thing I would always get, is like, he's a great babyface, but you know, what's his character? Like, I don't get what his character is. So when I turned, I was kind of like, okay, like, I'm gonna show you I'm so much more. than just a lovable underdog babyface. And you want to see what my character is? I'm going to give you every character in the freaking world now. That's when you got the Gargano Christmas special. You got the Gargano, like the psychiatry stuff. You got all that stuff. So like, yeah, man, like it's just been super fun to be able to kind of go after, I guess, people that keep moving the goalposts on me.
And I guess you mentioned some of those segments there that will forever be funny to all of us. But a lot of them, I think, were helped by COVID, because how many of those can you do sort of with fans in attendance? Would they be like, why am I watching this thing on the screen? I've come here to watch the show. So is that a part of, I guess, No Fans Wrestling, which I'm sure you all cannot wait to get back in front of a full crowd? But is that a part you guys have relished almost, as in being able to do the backstage skits, the funny pre-recorded segments, the likes of which we've seen more recently with Cameron Grimes and LA Knight, but sort of originated with you guys and the Garganos, and when Indy Hartwell got involved, and Tegan Knox originally before her injury. So did you enjoy, I guess, that aspect of not having fans there?
Yeah, so I took it upon myself. I kind of like just sat back and watched the show, and I was like, I think we could use some more levity, can use some more little entertainment here and there, because like, everyone's great. Everyone on the roster is a fantastic wrestler, fantastic storyteller, and every match is next level. But I think, like, for me, I was like, okay, like, especially during this COVID era, I don't think a lot of people are going to go back and be like, I got to watch this match, because like atmosphere is what makes matches, like crowd reaction is what makes matches. But I did feel like people could go back and they can watch our at-home skits. They can watch a Christmas special. They can watch the therapy skits, because you don't really need a crowd reaction for that.
Yeah,
they kind of just live on their own. So I kind of leaned more into doing those, because like, okay, I think after all this is said and done, that is going to hold up, and that will still be something you can go back and enjoy.
I completely agree with you. And I think it's interesting you sort of mentioned there that was something you sort of thought about. And I know Triple H said on a media call, I can't remember before which takeover, but you were doing some sort of producing work with NXT and helping with that side of things. I mean, as someone who, and I'm not just blowing smoke here, has probably had more, as in like the best NXT matches with the most amount of different people, whether it's Andrade or Tommaso or Adam Cole, I just think of you as the big match guy. Have you enjoyed, I guess, being behind those and being one of the producers that can help out with that stuff? And does, I guess, that role make you think more about maybe the future outside of wrestling, or not outside of wrestling, but outside of you physically wrestling, and what you can still give to the business in that aspect?
Definitely. And it's wild to say, but like, I'm only 33 years old, so I got tons of time left, but being able to learn the ins and outs of not just wrestling as we know it, but also TV wrestling, because TV wrestling is a little bit different than actual wrestling, just for the sake of like, okay, you have a guy in a headset who has to tell you times, and you have to learn like commercials coming, you have to learn like that. So you have to learn camera cuts, and like I think that is something I kind of like latched on to, because I was like, okay, like I think this will help me not just like in a future producer role or a future coach role. This will help me in a now role. So I know how long it takes for a camera cut to happen. I know like, okay, this is going to take 3 seconds before this camera turns on over here. So like, I think that just is better preparing myself for my now and my future. Because like you said, like I do pride myself on being the big match guy, being able to work with anyone. And I think that is something that I'm very proud of, and something that in the future, I do see myself doing more in wrestling. And I think when I'm 40, 50, however old it is, I think I have much more to offer.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as you said, big match guy, who better to learn from? I mean, I'm not saying you will be like the Shawn Michaels to the future generation, but it probably the future generations of NXT are sitting there and they're like, okay, who is that guy that we go to and watch the matches of to get inspiration? If it's NXT stuff, early days, it'll be you, it'll be Tommaso, it'll be Adam Cole. So do you find that now, even with the younger talent, maybe I know as well, you're obviously working closer with Austin Theory. Do they relish working with you because of, I guess, the history you've got in NXT and having those great matches?
Maybe. It's so weird to say, because I guess I'm aware of what I've done, but I'm also not super aware of what I've done, because I try to stay humble at all times. Like when you work with me, you're just working with Johnny Gargano, like who wants to put on a great match. Like you're not working with a guy who's like, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. I'm living in the moment. I'm trying to make the best of what I can. But like, I do feel like I can offer a lot of knowledge to a lot of guys. Like you said, like Austin Theory, he picks my brain all the time. And like, I guess it's cool to be in that role now, to where like I am kind of a locker room leader where people can come to me, and I'm always willing to help out. Like I tell anyone, if they have any questions or anything like that, please come to me, because I'm an open book.
That's awesome. Something I wanted to touch on before we wrapped up. If I think back to 2019, you and Tommaso were having this great stuff in NXT. It was bubbling away. And then I look on my phone. I think it was about 11 o'clock at night over here in the UK. I look on my phone and you guys are coming to Raw. And I'm like, what? What's happening? And then you guys are tagging together on Raw. And I'm like, what's happening? Mm-hmm. Was that your reaction as well?
Yeah.
Speak to us a little bit about, I guess, not the issues, but the difficulties with judging what you're doing in NXT, and I guess wanting to make a big impact on the show that you would have grown up watching. So speak to us a little bit about that call up, when you found out, and sort of what sort of happened surrounding that, because it's a story that I'm sure will fascinate many. And still, to me, I've got so many questions about it.
Yeah. I mean, I got a call randomly, I think on a Saturday morning. I was in Cleveland, Ohio. I was there for my dad's birthday. And I was basically told I was going to be on Monday Night Raw on Monday. I literally I didn't have any gear or anything like that with me. I had to call Tommaso, who was in Florida at the time. He had to go get a key to our apartment and get my gear. So Tommaso had to bring me my gear and a suit and things like that. Because like literally it was so last minute. We were so not prepared for anything like this, and we didn't know what was going on. And like, obviously you mentioned yourself, like during that time period, we were in the middle of telling a story that, like, I guess now looking back, people aren't going to get it because they kind of threw a wrench in it. But it was a story we were both very proud of, and a story we were both very protective over. So no matter what direction we were getting given on Raw and on SmackDown, we wanted to protect the story, and we wanted to honor the people that watch NXT, because it matters. I think that is the thing that is the hardest ball to juggle, is like, that is for wrestling fans. I think they feel like they're wasting their time sometimes.
Yeah.
They feel like they're not being rewarded. And for us in NXT, for me and Tommaso, we want to reward fans for tuning in. We want to reward fans for watching. I'm a big Marvel guy, so I love long-term storytelling. I love things like that. And I don't want a long-term story to be thrown away for no reason. I want there to be a reason behind everything. And I think, like you said, we're both wrestling fans. We want to be rewarded. So especially during that time period, it was such a fine line to walk for both of us, where we're like, okay, we have this story that we're going to tell. We need to tell, but we're also being asked to do this other thing. I guess we got to try and find common ground, middle ground for all of us, like everyone can be happy, to where we can make NXT fans happy. We can also give them what they want. And like, it's such an interesting time period, man. And luckily things worked out how they were supposed to. And I came back to NXT and everything worked out. But yeah, man, like it was so last minute.
It seemed it.
It was. I can confirm that for you.
Awesome. Johnny, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. Someone that I wanted to interview for a considerable amount of time. So to get the chance to sit with you has been great. And hopefully the next time we talk, you will be NXT champion. Obviously, you're facing Karrion Kross this Wednesday. You can watch that on BT Sport at 1 a.m. over here in the UK, on the USA Network over in the States. Johnny, anything you want to tell the fine folk that are listening before I let you go?
Tune in to NXT. Me, Karrion Kross, Samoa Joe, my best friend and special guest referee. Absolutely must see. Going to be an amazing night. New NXT champion. Let's go.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Johnny.
Thanks, dude.